Hi, I'm Richard Bond. My training is in philosophy. Today we're interviewing Dr. William Gardner, who has written a new book called Handling Truth. I have to say, without resorting to hyperbole, that the book demonstrates for me a first-class intellect. It takes a complex philosophical topic and makes it understandable and clear in a way most philosophical texts don't. I think Dr. Gardner has been able to do it because of careful research, non-ideological approach, trying his best to present a steady hand as far as analyzing a concept that has been troubling for philosophers for generations. Why don't you begin, Dr. Gardner, by talking about the domains. I mean, you've divided truth into 4 different domains. What is a domain?
Well, it sort of evolved that way. I wanted to create the notion that there were clear separations between these types of truth and the search for truth in 4 different ways. And the concept of domain came to me usually, like most things, probably borrowed from somewhere, but it's sort of a metaphor. It creates a nice metaphor for we think in terms of physical domains. Well, the 4 domains of truth differ more conceptually than they do in physical dimension, although they are physically separated as well. The first domain, Rhetorica, I've named it Rhetorica, deals with searching for truth through debate and persuasion, and there are forums for that. For example, our court system and our political system. The search for truth there is always through debate and persuasion. But they're physical entities. They're capitol buildings and they're courthouses. Then the next domain is Mystica, which is the domain of truths based in belief or faith. And of course, when we think about faith-based truth, we think about religion, but there's also faith-based truths outside of religion. For example, ideological views of what is true and what is not, where people have faith in some political concept, such as Aryan supremacy in the case of the Nazis. So it can go outside of the domains of what we traditionally think of as religion, even into cults. The third domain is Logica, truths that we search for through reason. Philosophy has long held this approach in its search for truth, that we find truth through reason, that logical analysis is the only sure path to find out what is true. And that has been adopted throughout academia, through the academic circles. And we think of college campuses as places of rigorous reasoning. And the last domain, Empirica, is sort of the 20th century domain, the domain of scientific and historical research, where we believe we can find the truth through careful experimentation and careful data collection and research. And we present that as true within that framework of factual truth or truths that are presented to us through experimental findings. And that creates, and of course that's associated with laboratories, both private and public laboratories, where there is little patience for assertions of truth that do not come with a reference to data and empirical findings. And that is physically separated from the other domains, in that laboratories, although they do, we think of them as being connected with universities, big research universities, they are their own place on campus, not a place where you wander in freely, but it's usually the door is locked to a laboratory. So that was the 4 domains to establish them sort of as intellectual territories that are sovereign from each other.